everyone. You're watching God, Sex, and Love. It's your girl, Miracle Sims. And tonight I'm going to be chatting with Mr. Juan Lee. He is the operator of a awesome nonprofit as well as an author and much, much more. So if you're ready to learn more about him, then stay tuned. That's
Be real big. I gotta make it just for my kids and for their kids' kids. That's wealth years and years. Promise my brother soon as he out and finish this bid, we finna do it bigger than anybody ever did. The odds is real big, jobs that's real big. Satan trying a little, my God is real big. Stayed up on the ground and the cars is real big. I gotta do it big, the only way that I can live. And I promise I'm trying to. Before you count me out, homie, let me remind you, they was blocking the shine. Now I think it's my time to. Counting them dollar signs like lights, they'll blind you. Let me rewind to back when I was broke and I couldn't acquire 2 cents, and now I got 2 rents. They was sleeping on me, homie, must have got too big. Call my phone, I be like, who this? Damn right, hell yeah, I'm brand new. Smell like can too. I'm fresh forever like canned food. Try and tell me what I can't do. I wanna see the world, my vision on shamu. That mean I got goals that's real big, foes that's real big. Your offer too little, sorry, my soul is real big. Coming into the ring with blows that's real big. I gotta do it big.
Welcome back to God, Sex, and Love. I am here with Mr. Juan Lee. We've been chit-chatting for the past few minutes, and I'm like, oh, we're missing some good stuff. Hey, how you doing, Mr. Juan?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm good. Every now and then I'll get people where it's like, I'm like, oh, I see how this conversation gonna go. We're gonna be laughing. We're gonna be, I don't know, like, we're gonna see where this goes. Because if people get jokester miracle out, then that's a whole nother thing.
It's all called real, being real.
Right. So we established that we're both on the East Coast and everything like that. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from and everything?
I'm from Maryland. I'm in right outside of DC. Born, raised in the DMV. Basically, the only time I left to go into the military. Spent 9 years in the military. Came right back home, and since then got married. Have no children. We've been married for almost 25 years, and currently we're caregiving for my mother-in-law. She has Alzheimer's, and we've been caring for her for almost 10 years now.
Wow. Well, first let me say thank you for your service. We gotta say that. Thank God you're here, because I know a lot of things can happen in the military. So,
Wouldn't have had it any other way.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have had it any other way.
Good. And like I said, and that's that's a wonderful thing as well, what you just shared about your, taking care of your mother-in-law and everything. So how is that going? Like how is that for you?
It's an experience that you really can't measure it until you go through it. My wife and I, we cared for my dad before he passed. And that was back in 2013 he passed. And then shortly after he passed, my mother-in-law came to stay with us. And when you're caregiving your parents, you really realize that that thing of caregiving with the expectations of growth and development, as a parent to a child, you get to experience those accomplishments that the child gets. This is a little different in the sense that you're experiencing decline. And that's a big picture to be able to swallow. Especially when you talk about Alzheimer's and things like that is so debilitating. That takes a little bit out of you year after year after year. But I tell you, how we look at it, how we view it, is that it's been such a experience that it allows us to appreciate our parents so much, and ultimately to be able to care for them. It's so rewarding. It really is, because it puts on a totally different a vision as what the relationship is. It changes, and to be able to be a caregiver, for someone who cared for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's appreciated. I mean, my dad, when we were caring for him, and he was like, he just didn't understand how we could do it. It was like he had no expectations of us. He didn't. My dad was, one of those people that was, he was a man, and he was supposed to be the. And when it came time for us to have to, to care for him, he was just, amazed as the fact of what he gave was returning back to him. The reciprocity was coming back to him, and he had never understood it. It was interesting. My dad was in the military also, and when we went to, he started, we started caring for him. We went to the VA to get some services, and the VA gave him allotment, and he just could not understand. He was like, "You all are going to give this to me?"
Mm.
And he was getting funds from them, and he was like, he had no expectations from it, and he was getting it. So it was just that humility, that ability to be able to be, he just accepted. It was hard for him to accept it.
Yeah.
And that was a good time for me. I mean, because I saw a man who was very staunch in his life, and then for him to be able to accept that was, whoa. It was hard, but it was really understanding that there was something underneath of that hard shell that could really touch him.
Mm-hmm.
So it was eye opening. I'd never been able, and I wouldn't have been able to see that or know that if not having chance to care for him in his latter part of his life.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I know that's I know people obviously have different perspectives and whatnot as caregivers and whatnot, and I know that's an honorable thing to be able to do that and to be in a position to be able to do that. I know you mentioned that you didn't have children, and I was going to ask about that, but even with you saying that you've been in a position to be able to care for your both your father and your mother-in-law, um, things happen for a reason. They really do. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, and um, you know, perhaps that I don't know the details of your y'all situation, you and your wife, but sometimes again, when things happen and we might be confused about it, but then next thing we know, again, you all being in the position to care for them and ultimately be blessed by it in a different way. I mean, um, I don't know, that's a beautiful thing, and I
Just
appreciate
just just to give you some background, we planned to do this.
it. Mm,
My wife and I planned this. My mother died um, back in '02, and my dad was, struggling by himself.
mhm,
And from that point in '02, you know, we started to begin to think about what this was going to look like.
mhm,
And we began to put things in place so that we could do this. So this was this was a motivation and plan out of love and appreciation,
mhm,
well in advance of the need to have to do it. And so we prepared, and that's something that I like to share with people is that it can be done if you desire to want to do it.
mhm,
You've got to prepare for it. You just, and this goes a little bit into the power of love that I talk about, and that is that it's intentional. It's intentional. It's something that you plan to do it, and when you plan to do it, nobody can stop you. Nobody can stop you from loving.
mhm,
And so that was our plan. And so this is the manifestation of what we had anticipated. We planned to do it.
yeah,
And so uh, to encourage people to understand that life has a cycle, it's a cycle.
mhm,
And we have a tendency to think about the cycle, the part of it that's all glit and glamour. But there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. and we have to process all parts of that process. And so I think that's the fulfillment of this experience. Something that we getting into something now that I don't know if we want to talk about. I should really let you go ahead and do your thing.
You sure? Hey, I mean, hey, I say let the Lord lead you, man. If you feel like it's something that needs to be said, I mean, it's no problem. Because for me, again, like we already talked about, I'm an open book and whatnot. But GSL is just a platform to just talk about everything. So,
well,
I mean, I know it has those words, but literally we talk about everything on here. So feel free.
I'm interested in your love, sex. I mean, your God, sex, and love. So I'm like, hey, I don't want to miss out on. I don't want people to miss out on their God, sex, and love.
You know what? See, this is what I'm talking about. This is what. Look, he said, "Wait, it's too deep for me right now. Hold on, let's go back to this." All right, Mr. One, that's fine. That's fine. You won't go into that stuff. But I mean, hey, like I said, I mean that's a powerful message as well, which you already shared, because again, now it's funny because when you said intentional, because for me, and I know you kind of I guess commended me on what I do with the juice, and that's one of the things I say. I had to be intentional about that time with God, right? Like I had to be like, you know what? I have been thinking about it so long for so many years. I'm like, man, I need to read Bible more. I need to do this stuff more. I need to study more, blah, blah, blah. Just saying all this stuff. I need to work out. I was saying all this. And then just finally, it just, I guess in 2020 and everything, when everything happened the way they did, it just was like, you know what? I ain't got nothing else to do. I can't do my because I had a business or whatever. I was like, I can't run that how I was running it. The only thing I got is like one of my online side hustles. That's the only thing I can do right now, and I'm home. So, and the idea about the podcast came around and all this different stuff, and I was like, okay. And I found out it would be easy for me to do from home. So I was like, all right, well, what's the excuse now, right? So I was like, well, let me just be intentional. I'm gonna wake up in the morning and be intentional about this time, and I guess God has honored that. God has honored that in a lot of ways. Again, it helps me to do it, but then it also, hopefully, it helps others to do it. And then again, it was the thing that kicked off all my other goals and dreams that I had as well. That the talk show, books, all this different stuff that kind of stem from taking that first step and that first leap, or planning, or that intentional step, right? Like you were talking about. So I did wonder, like, do you have siblings and things like that? So did you guys, or do yeah?
I'm the baby boy.
Oh.
So I have two older brothers and an older sister and a younger sister. And so we are we spread all over the country, as a matter of fact. Most on the East Coast, but I have one brother out on the West Side.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering, like, if you felt like if you were the only child or something, and that's why you felt like the need to plan, or if that's just your personality. And
it's interesting. My story is my mother. I'm probably more of my mother's child than the rest of them. My mother died when I was 6 years old. My mother's mother, my stepmother, died in 2002, but my mother died when I was 6 years old. And my mother was she had a big heart. Her vision was to help other people. And she was the president of a parents club in our neighborhood in the 60s. In the 60s and 70s. Well, actually, she passed in 71, so it was the 60s, because she was sick in the early part of the 70s. But that was her motivation, her drive and desire to do for others. And they ultimately, trying to help the kids, the children in the neighborhood, they built the recreation center in my neighborhood, and they named it after my mother.
Wow.
And that's facility still stands to this day. They built it in '77, and it has been over 30 years now. And it's still there, and it's still serving the community. But it was that symbol, that sign, that mindset or that motivation that really keeps me focused and understands where I come from. I'm from that lineage of wanting to help. My dad's the same way. I mean, his heart was big as he could be. And that's just who I am, so I'm doing me, so.
That's beautiful, man. That speaks volumes about her. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, your family and everything like that. So that's beautiful, a beautiful legacy there. Okay. I know you like look. She don't went deep again. She don't went deep. All right, fine then, sir. You said you want to talk about GSL. I don't want to hold that from you know what I'm saying. We hadn't even really got into like what you're into and what you do, what you do and everything. Do you want to talk about that?
Nope. You wanted the backstory. You said you wanted something about me. You wanted the backstory.
Exactly. I want to, where you from, all that stuff. And so, okay, so you want to tell us a little bit about what you do, what you have going on? Or he's like, no, I came to talk about God, sex, and love.
Hey, that's all right. We're gonna share the stage. Okay, I got you. I appreciate that. My name is Juan Lee. I am a transformational speaker, thought leader, author, and my thought leadership is in the power of love. I'm also the founder and executive director of a nonprofit called Clear Journey, where we teach the practical applications of love through financial literacy and attitudes for success. That's what I'm doing. Okay. I'm also a coach in that realm of the power of love. I also am in the process of putting together a program that will allow you to learn these steps on your own pace. But it's all about life. It's about navigating life. It's about understanding the power of love. There's nothing that can stop that ability to love. We talked a little bit about it. And that's what I do. That's what I'm doing now. I also, like I said, the author of a book called Love Made Simple, where we give you the guide to inner peace, contentment, and success.
Okay. So, it seems like you had a lot to say about love then.
I just wanted to piggyback off of you.
Here you go. Now, what y'all don't know is like Mr. Juan Lee and I have been going like on and on for the past few months trying to get this thing, organized of us having this interview. And so again, thank you for your patience, right, and your I guess understanding and all this different back and forth that we did. And now here you are,
Hey, it's all worth it. It's all worth it because this is a relationship now. This is what we have. So this is the beginning. This is not just the beginning. Not the end. It's the beginning. That's the way I look at it. Any relationship that connects, it's the beginning. This is yet to be seen what the value will be.
That's true. And but I guess you always stayed on my mind as somebody to reach back out to because, again, I think we was on one platform, then we was trying to email them. So I was like, I don't want him to think I don't want him to be on the show. I was like, you ready? Whenever you're ready,
Hey, I understand. We've transferred different platforms. That's why I just gave you another contact. So that's all good.
Right. Yeah. So, so again, I'm glad that you're here, and everything like that. I'm glad you didn't run away because you know what? It's so funny. And I feel like I've been talking to people about this recently because I didn't realize it when I started or when I made the name and all these different things or when the name came to me, when God gave me the name, whatever, however you want to look at it. I didn't think about it then. Like, I guess, that it would be taboo. I knew that it's blunt. I knew that it was blunt, but I didn't think anything of it until I interviewed on someone else's show, and she asked me about, like, how do people receive the name? And I literally, at that point, I hadn't received any like negativity or anything about it. So I just was like, oh, people, it's regular. But then I started to notice, like, I want to say a few months after that, like I started to notice, like, um, when you're posting in groups and stuff, and people are like, oh, I want to, I need to come on the show. And I'm like, hey, come on our show. And, maybe you might get a response, you might not get a response, or, I did have somebody, I guess, was like, decline, or, try to give the vibe of like, oh, that's not the show for me type of vibe. And I'm like, well, if anyone has questions, right, or you could just watch the content, because again, we talk about a whole lot of different things. We talk about everything from politics to we talked about everything on here. But it's just, I was just being very clear that we're not going to shy away, right, from this either, because I do believe that this is, these three things, people don't put them together, and I just feel like there's power in that and whatnot, from a Christian standpoint. But regardless of all of that, somehow, right, in the midst of our communication, you didn't run away, you know what I mean? Obviously you're here, and everything like that. So what inspired you, right, to reach out and be like, hey man, I want to be on that God, Sex, and Love? Like, what?
Because that title is exactly what I'm all about. I'm all about that. And let me that what you've stirred up is controversy.
Mm-hmm.
And that is exactly what I want to. Here's the point. The thing that made me write my book, Love Made Simple, is because they've made it to be so difficult, made it so confusing. It's been so confusing. And those three words that you have right there are the key components of the confusion.
You know what? I'm gonna run around. You better talk.
Key components to the confusion.
Right.
And don't nobody want to talk about it.
Come on, look.
Don't nobody want to talk about it. So when I saw that, I was like, oh no, we in it. I'm here with it. I couldn't wait to get here, because you're the person that I wanted to get to, because you have exactly what I want to talk about, because we think that those words don't exist, or they should be controlled by one another, by somebody or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, and no. And so to be able to get that, I mean, you don't understand. I have for the first word and the third word, I have another word that goes in there. Instead of where you say sex, I would say religion.
Okay.
And that will throw that threesome all over the place. That'll throw everything into a loop. And that's where I saw, I said, dog, that's as close as I've seen to one that I was talking about, and that's the GRL versus the GSL. And I said, that's as close as I've seen. So we got to get with that and see what that's about. And I believe that that's it. It's controversial because people don't want to talk about it. Here's the point. I separate them.
Okay.
I separate them. And people want to put them all together. Okay. See, God is that's a personal thing. God is personal. And we've made it to be something that is meant to be collective, and it's personal. And then as far as love is concerned, it's universal. And yet when we put God with love, we make it exclusive.
Okay.
Because of religion. Because of religion. And so that's made the power of love very confusing to understand its trueness, or the true power of it, because now it's exclusive based on what religion you are.
Okay. Well, I'm listening.
Talk to me. Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you're thinking. And we in it now. You in it now.
We here now. Yeah, we here now. We here. Well, I mean, obviously, I am someone that is, I guess, trying to not just put it together. I don't think I'm putting it together. I think they are all. I don't think they should be separate, in my opinion. I feel like God is love. You know what I'm saying? And I also feel like God made sex. And so I don't understand why we try to separate it when, because I feel like that's where some of the confusion comes in, personally, when we're separating God from the idea of love and sex or anything.
Well, see, I hear you. I hear you. And you're absolutely right. But the confusion comes in as it relates to how it's presented.
Hmm.
How it's presented. See, when I talk about we need to separate it and God is a personal, God is personal. I'm talking about God as being how I see God and how you see God. It's different in the application of how I'm going to demonstrate it because I'm an original. I'm different. Now, when you say God is love, that's the action of God. He is. That's an action. That means that I'm going to work on behalf of another. I'm going to act on behalf of another. So my whole principle of understanding that concept of love and God and love, it's that my actions, which demonstrate of God, should be on behalf of another. That's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Jesus did. He acted on behalf of another. And so now that's the action. That's what love looks like, is the action of on behalf of another. And so when we are not able to separate it, we end up getting caught into actions that are not on the behalf of others. When we get caught up into religious doctrines, we begin to act that's not benefiting others because we have a bottom line that we have to adhere to in religion. But I get what you're talking about because it's that ability to be able to navigate through that, to be able to find that there is no difference in them.
Right.
But when you're not able to navigate them, that makes it very confusing when it begins to demonstrate something and I'm looking at something that's not demonstrating what I'm supposed to be demonstrating that looks like God.
I understand what you're saying. Because people, humans, humanity is flawed. We are not God, and I think that's part of the issue as well. Because a lot of us, some humans believe that we're God, or that they are God, or whatever the thing is. I do believe that we're reflections of Him, and we can be reflections of Him, but I don't believe that we are God. And
what's the value of being an inflection, a reflection?
What's the value of being
a reflection?
Well, the value, I guess, comes from, as a reflection. Again, it is going out to others, like, the love, the grace, the mercy, all the things that we receive from Him personally. We give that to others, which we don't do. We already know that.
But there is the reflection. If we desire to be that reflection, it's to do that which He did, and that would look. What's the end results of that? Is that we're demonstrating God to others as He did to us.
Yeah.
Love is acting on behalf of another.
Yeah, that's what I totally get that, part of what you're saying. I do believe that it is something that we're supposed to be doing for others, right? It's not just, it's for us. Yes, He gave it to us, we give it to others. But then what I've noticed, at least in my little studies, little things I do every day, little juice or whatnot, I'm asking this question all the time. I'm like, why don't we do this? Like, why don't we live this way? Like, why don't we do things the way God do? I know we're not going to fully understand God, right? And His mind and everything like that in regards to all the intricate details of Him, right? But I do think basic stuff, like in regards to just like you just said, allowing all the things that we receive, grace, mercy, patience, all those things that we receive, giving that back out. And in my opinion, I think that perhaps we would see, differences when it comes to our world, our community, our families, all that type of stuff. But we do the opposite, and then we see the results of the opposite, but then we still continue to do the opposite, and I know that's probably I don't know where we're gonna go with this, but
Well,
yeah,
I tell you, that's what love is, a choice.
yeah, yeah.
See, it's as simple as you just said all of those things, but yet came back to the conclusion that we won't do it.
I didn't say we won't. I said we don't.
Well, okay, don't, won't,
Well,
it
all
ain't
of us,
being, it
all
ain't
of us,
happening.
huh?
It's not happening. And
Not,
and but
not. I haven't seen it
but
personally.
but
Not,
but
not
then
like
we
a
but we
whole
see
bunch of
results.
everybody. Not
We
like everybody. Yeah, like
but we see the results of not happening or not doing it though.
yeah,
And we
yeah.
can't blame anybody else because it's our choice.
Right, right. And I'm curious, and this is see you now you bring it back this idea that I had because I'm very curious to see like what it would even look like for people to even attempt to try to do that. You know what I mean? Because I'm not saying that I'm not saying there's not communities showing love to each other or there's individual people that are doing it, but I don't think there's probably ever been a time where there was like a group that literally did it every day, all day. And what does that look like? I don't know. I mean, have you? I mean, I don't know your age, but you've been here a little longer than me. So have you seen it?
No, here's the value of love.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you peace,
Mm-hmm.
contentment
Mm-hmm.
with your needs met.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's how you look at life day to day with that type of lens and clarity. That's the value of it. It has that individual and collective value because we need one another, and we to be able to be fulfilled is to give it.
Yes.
To be able to have that authentic self and to give it. And when you're doing it, that's fulfillment. That's this is this experience. And what you're asking for is what most people don't ever experience because it's been made to be so confusing. But it's so simple.
Mm-hmm. I
It's
agree.
so simple. And here's the point. And you and I hold the key to it. It's called love, and we choose to do it. We choose it. It's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to choose it to see what the benefits could bring.
Unfortunately, I mean, and like I said, some do. You know what I mean? Some do choose to live and operate in love. I'm not saying that, but I'm
I tell
interested. Like I
you,
said, I was interested to see like a whole collective group try, like attempt to do that and see what that even looks like. Like how would the world be? Like how would um life be? Like the different tensions and whatnot between all the groups and all this stuff. Like would it still be there, or would it be different? Or
love breaks down divisions. It breaks divisions down because it connects us one to another so that we can give our gifts to one another. Because I don't care. See, when we begin to see value in one another instead of differences, it begins to break the walls down.
right.
That's a choice. We have to choose to see value versus differences.
Yeah. Yeah.
All I'm doing is giving you the roadmap, but you got to do it. Each and every one of us has to put this in place and to say, I'm going to choose to see value in here's the point, in my enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Value in my enemy because my enemy is a part of humanity.
There you go. There you go. Look, I call that on the juice. I call that the pulp. They don't want to hear that part.
Uh-uh. Uh-uh.
you
No.
know, but it's in the, like, that's in the Bible and everything. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm like, I know we don't fully understand every aspect, right? Like, because again, our first thought isn't to love our enemy, right? Like, our first thought probably isn't to, turn the other cheek and all that stuff, as they say. But that's what we're being, how do words say? I forget the actual word of commissioned to do, I guess is one way to say it.
Well,
That's what we're being asked to do.
but the
Um,
thing about it is to be able to understand how to do that and understand. See, when you're able to love your enemy, that means that you're secure in who you are. And when you're insecure in who you are, your enemy is a threat. But when you're secure in who you are, your enemy's not a threat.
mm-hmm. And see, I agree, and that's part of the issue as well. Like we struggle with loving ourselves, you know.
It starts
So
there.
yeah, yeah.
It starts there. Our broken relationships manifest or they're demonstrations of a broken self.
Talk to us about it, Mr. Juan Lee. Talk to us about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is that until we fix self, we go duplicating it all over. We keep on duplicating. We have bad relationship after bad relationship after bad relationship, knowing that we're the constant in all of them.
Did you read my book? What was going on? What was going?
I'm just saying, you got to understand, if you want to fix something, you got to do something different.
You said all my stuff now. Wait.
It ain't nothing new. You call crazy repeating the same thing, expecting a different outcome.
Yep. Yep. Right. Well, what can we do? What can we do then, Mr. Juan Lee? Like, okay, each individual person can take ownership of that information that they just heard here, right? Or whatever, and try their best to live accordingly. And yet, if everybody was to do that as it was, then maybe again we would see some differences across the
No,
world.
you would see difference in self.
Mm-hmm.
If you we get to that point right there. We can't get to that point because we've not done the work on ourselves. That's why we can't see that as being practical or possible, because we've not done the work on ourselves. You do the work on yourself, that will come. Because guess what? If everybody did the work on self, everybody would be able to see others as valuable.
He done came and gave us a word on today. I don't know. We probably just go by the way I just said. We'll pass the offer plate, everybody.
Hey, okay. Look, send it to.
What else can we say here on today?
Send it to, okay, in care of. No, but see, this is the point I'm saying. If we want transformation, we want change.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with us.
I agree.
It starts with us.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to understand, if we want that type of change, let's be the change we want to see. Everybody is looking at us.
Mm-hmm.
What do they see? Do we want them to see the change that we want it to be? Or we just want to see them, do we want them to see a mirror of themselves? See, we'll give them what they give you. We'll give them what they give us. It's easy. But give them something that they won't give you, and that's when change happens.
Oh yeah. Because the more that we do that, most likely that it's just going to make them. That's going to really give them a look at themselves.
Go on, look at that mirror.
Yep.
You gonna tell me how we gonna navigate you and your God, sex, and love now? Because see, you done dug all into my book and everything that I'm doing. Now, let's talk about how you navigate this God, love, and sex.
Well, you got some questions for me. You trying to put me on the hot seat? It's supposed to be about you. You want to talk?
Oh,
Okay.
no. We said we was gonna share.
Okay. Hey, I'm here. What you want to know? What's going on?
Hit it. I mean, what was the provocativeness of that title? What caused that title? What made it happen?
Oh, what made it happen?
What
Well,
made you put them three together and say, take it?
Long story short, people have heard this already. See, you ain't watched the show. See, I was playing. Well,
I
long
took
story
it back to the beginning.
he took it out to the Genesis. Yeah. So long story short, back in the day, back in my single days, when I had my little mini afro, it's all on YouTube documented. I used to go, but not live. I used to record, right, and upload on YouTube. This little series, I called it The Hopeful Romantic. And in one of the first episodes, I was like, I'm gonna be honest. I think about God, sex, and my career. Like, you know, I was like, these are things I think about all the time. And then I had to come back and be like, okay, look, let me explain. Like, when I said sex, I meant relationship, marriage, all that stuff was it was included in the sex, but I said sex, but I just want to, clear that up. And so basically, so that's what's missing technically. Career is missing off of the list, which is funny because I talk a lot to a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of business people on here. But I mean, I don't know. I guess I just decided to just do God, sex, and love versus being like God, sex, and career or whatever, because where it flow better. But then also again, not shying away from this conversation of sex and including God into it, because back then, right, I was single, looking for content, this horny little Christian woman, trying to figure that out, being like, Lord, I feel a way, but I know what I'm not supposed to be doing, but I'm still a woman. So what we going, what we doing? Where's my husband at? Where is he? Going through all of that. I call that the cultivation period. I got a whole book about it. That was my cultivation period at that time, I want to say. And so, but during that time I was looking for content and I was looking at different shows. I saw different like YouTube channels and all this type of stuff. But I noticed they would only go so far when it came to like the sex conversation. They would only be like, hey, you don't do it. And then nobody would say anything else. And I'd be like, am I the only one over here? Nobody's talking about how they feel. Nobody's talking about like none of the other things. Just the, yes, we're staying a virgin and we're da. And that's cool. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you're supposed to, things in its timing, according to the Bible, X, Y, Z, I'm with it. But I just wanted to hear more. I just wanted to hear, like, I wanted to be able to relate. You know what I'm saying? To be like, are you horny too, Christian online? Like, what do you do about it? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you, exercise that patience and all that stuff? And so that's was the, I guess, again, me being online, just talking about me and my little being hopeful romantic, because I said I wasn't hopeless. I was hopeful that there was a man out there for me somewhere. He was. I didn't know who he was and all that stuff. And I was praying for him, and I was just like, Lord, wherever he's at, like I'm ready now, and all that. And so, so that was the beginning stages of this. And when I did decide to make GSL the talk show, because I wanted to be able to just be open, transparent, just free to talk about it and not be like, I don't think it's as taboo as we make it. It shouldn't be. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, this conversation of sex is happening around us all the time. And I just feel like Christians need to have the conversations too, because if we don't, we see the results of not having the conversation. So that's what it was for me. Now, obviously, it's become way more than that, but that's what
it's very interesting, because the way in which we view sex is as though it's something that is bad.
Right.
And I don't care who you are. I'll be honest with you. I grew up like that.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up like that. And I mean, even into my 30s, I'm thinking that it's bad because I'm a Christian.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I'm a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with that is that once you get married, you still don't know that it ain't bad.
And there you go. It's not bad. And that's the thing. I just think, and I get it. I get why people talk the way they did. I guess, I was back there, when my mom's day, and I was obviously maybe in your day, and, whatever the case is, but I've seen some remnants of it. You know what I'm saying? And what I'm saying is, like, I get why, to teach the, teaching it a certain way, but at the same time, I'm like, but it's not bad. It's just the timing wise of it. And because again, I could totally see the reasons why the Bible says, for example, you shouldn't touch a woman before the time, blah, 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 like don't awaken those things before certain times. Because we can see results of that across the board. We see the broken home, we see the teenage pregnancies, we see the rape culture, and all the different results of awakening something within people that shouldn't be before time. Put it like that, before time.
Well,
So
here's the part that we fail to realize, that the statement of the conversation is not about sex in the sense of the act.
mm-hmm.
It's about what it encompasses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the major thing that sex encompasses is a commitment. And
mm-hmm.
we don't talk about the commitment. And see, that's the problem, because all of those things that are as a result of this not having this conversation goes back to all of the issues that it presents, because sex it does what it's supposed to do. It reproduces.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it reproduces.
Mm-hmm.
So when it does what it's supposed to do, and the reason that we are talking about it, because there's no commitment that is associated with it that determines and makes it worthwhile to doing it, we've missed out on the commitment part.
Right.
And so we get infatuated with the feeling of it,
mm-hmm.
instead of the act and the demonstration of what it's supposed, and it should demonstrate commitment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then there's much more going on than just the act. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Again, people are dealing with spiritual things happening, you know what I mean? And all these other things that are going on, but that's the part nobody's talking about. They're just thinking about, I don't know if people don't realize that I don't know. It's just, but I think that comes from leaving God out of it, right? They don't consider God in it. So
commitment is, in this context, is what God is trying to demonstrate through sex.
mm-hmm.
It's demonstrating that you need to be committed to one another. See, because we put marriage as that commitment tool,
mm-hmm.
but sex and marriage go together, and it demonstrates the commitment.
Right. Yeah.
And so here's the point: whether or not you get married or not, because that's an institution of man, because the commitment of having sex implied marriage.
Yep. Someone said, I think it was a previous guest on here, that it was like sex and marriage was one and the same in regards to being like tea and water, and you can't separate the tea from the water once the tea is there.
Yeah, it's like trying to take wet from water.
Right.
You can't do it. And it's that ability to understand that. It was like, are you willing to be committed to not only each other, but the results also?
And that's the thing, because it's, bro, my brother in Christ here, like,
committed.
Yes, and see, that's the thing, because then you'll see like the different conversations and the different things that, again, because people can have the same conversation in the world, right? And they're like, oh, I do what I want to do, blah 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 blah. But then it's like, but I don't want to have no baby by him. Then why are you having sex with him if you wouldn't want to have a baby by him? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because, for example, that's just one example. But it's just like in any other aspect, I wouldn't want to marry him. Well, why would you have sex with somebody you wouldn't marry? Like that. I mean, but see, I feel like we make light of sex, marriage, all that stuff. We make light of it like it's nothing, right? And but then at the same time, I do believe that, okay, maybe, I know we've had this conversation on GSL before. We were talking about like, do all women want to be married, or do all people want to be married? And maybe people don't want to be married. Maybe there's some people that don't. But I believe that some of the struggles come from, I think, I say majority, but I do believe like a good amount of people do, right? And if they find themselves in relationships, or what I would call situations back in the day, where you either fooling around or whatever the case is, and you're not really truly getting what you ultimately want, that's a conflict as well, because it's like, and that's something I had to ask myself at that time, like you said, that growth, that change and whatnot, because one thing I was doing, during the cultivation period or before the cultivation period, I was fooling around, right? And I was like, and maybe I wasn't having sex, right? But I was like doing everything else, which is still sex, and and so I had to be honest with myself. I had to be like, you know what, at the end of the day, what is it that I really want, right? I want marriage. I want a husband. I want, a family. So why are you doing things that is going against what you really want? And after being honest with myself about that, I had to, make different changes. And I'm not perfect, what I'm saying? I'm not anything like that, but at least I feel like that's what God was working in me about, like, hey, you're gonna have to change some things up. And I feel like that's why I'm at where I am now. I'm in a loving marriage, we have a son and all these different things. And, I feel like I'm living my dreams right now, and I feel like that was because maybe I was faithful in those small things at that time in my single days. And so um we can go on and on. This my topics here, so we can.
Here's the point. It's how you navigate that experience and the things that we've already been programmed to think as being negative. We begin to navigate based on negative information instead of understanding the simplicity of sex is a commitment. It's let's just. I was in the same neighborhood you was, that area of growth, but it was because of what we had been taught. But can you imagine teaching a young person, a young woman, a young man, the value of commitment versus the feeling of pleasure?
Yeah.
Because see, what we're selling and what we're showing on television is pleasure. Instead of encouraging them in commitment, because that's the tools that get us to the results that the outcomes we're looking for, instead of these temporary moments of pleasure.
Right.
These are the types of things.
Yeah, because then with the commitment, I know I talk about these verses all the time on here, but with the commitment comes you can have the pleasure beyond just, you know what I mean? Like you can have multiple, pleasures or whatnot throughout your marriage and whatnot. It don't have to be the one night stand. It don't have to be the, oh, well, I'm with this person. Oh, we done broke up. Oh, now I got to deal with heartache, and now let me get with somebody else to replace that heartache, and, and all that is like, because contrary to what people believe, the Bible does encourage sex. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but it encourages in the marriage. But I guess that's the Pope. That's the part you don't like. But and that's the funny thing too, because again, the narrative is too, when you get married, then people don't have sex when they get married. Which I'm like, I'm on team more married sex. Let's push that out there for people to, because. But I feel like another thing or conclusion or something that has come to me throughout this process of the juice and GSL and everything is that I really can see like how everything the Bible says, if you look in what they call the world or mainstream media or whatever, if you look at anything else, it's telling us the exact opposite of what the Bible says. The Bible says get married. The world, everything else says, no, don't get married. That ain't no big deal. Da, 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 da. You know what I'm saying? And that's just one example. But I feel like that happens in every aspect of different things that's in the Bible. And so, and I think we should question that. Like, I think that should be a huge indication as well. Like, why is this completely the opposite? Like this over here, it's like this really strong push to do everything opposite of what the Bible say. And to me, that's like, that should be eye-opening or confirmation for people that I might need to look into what that thing says, but I think for some it is. But
the thing about it is that it's really not contradicting. It's just that we perceive it as being contradicting. Just like if I was just telling you about sex and marriage. What's difficult, whether you are a Christian or not, to understand the value of commitment?
I mean, I
But
don't think.
if you don't title it as marriage,
Mm-hmm.
but you operate and demonstrate the commitment, this is the point where I was talking about legalities and religion versus theology and practicality of the practical application. If you're demonstrating the commitment without the title, what is the difference whether you're a believer or not?
Hmm.
Because what the marriage demonstrates supposedly, and if you look into Christian or religious statistics, they're following divorce rates just as high as non-believers.
Hmm.
So my point is that somewhere along there, we're missing the commitment and we're attributing it to, we're either dividing it up by being believers or not, but the results is the same.
Well, I guess for me, I just feel like that's what we're flawed as humans. You know what I'm saying? Because again, I think there's it's funny because me and my husband was kind of talking about this a few weeks ago. I believe that there's like there's the ability of good and evil in any human, right? You know, and it doesn't matter what you look, your race, none of that stuff. All of us are capable of both good and evil. And I do believe that there's a defining between believers and non-believers, and I believe that's a huge choice. Like whether you believe or not, I feel like that's a huge choice based on Bible, based on what I'm reading. That's a huge choice. You're free to choose. And I can't force nobody to choose what I believe, and vice versa. Contrary to what people try to do these days, try to force you to believe what they believe. So, but at the end of the day, God gave us all free will. You can choose whatever you want to choose, believe or not. Now, if you want to, again, we can make light of it, right, and try to act like it's not a big deal or whatever the case is. But I guess we'll find out, right? Those of us that haven't passed on or whatever the case is, I guess we'll find out, right? But yeah, I mean, you're right. Yeah, there's different things that are happening in the Christian community that are also happening in I guess the non-Christian community and whatnot. And why is that? Okay, well, we could say that it comes from, again, like you said, people not valuing commitment, people not valuing marriage, sex, all those different things, each other, people not valuing each other or themselves. It could be a lot of things that cause that. I don't know if I answered your question though. So my apologies for that.
No.
But
I mean, you're demonstrating the challenging aspects of how love is presented. And that's normal. I mean, I don't, when we begin to see the parallels, and we have no answers for them, it reverts back to the things that we're familiar with, but yet the answer is right before us. The answer is right here. And so, that's a very good indicator of what I'm talking about, is that we've made love to be so confusing that we've began to accept the confusion as acceptable. It's acceptable. And so what I was just trying to show was the comparisons of how we've been taught it to be something that's made to be bad, when in actuality, it's not bad. And the reasoning for it is that it demonstrates commitment no matter where you are, who you are, and it plays itself out in a negative way when there is no commitment demonstrated after the fact. Because it's easy to rest in the moment of the pleasure, because once the need for the commitment comes in, you're out of there.
right.
But the act was supposed to be a prelude to the commitment.
Yeah. But again, that's what I'm saying. Like, again, for me, that's why I say keeping God out of it. Because for me, because it comes to like who put these rules in place anyway? You know what I'm saying? Like, where did they come from? Like, why is it like that? Like, can't, people are trying to have sex without the commitment, and they do, right? And people do. And some are able to, stay in that and be cool with that, and some are not. Some may feel the conviction afterwards. That's probably the Holy Spirit versus not. I mean, that can go even deeper. But yeah, that's why I say that's where the importance of God comes in, because that's where the values and all that stuff comes from. And not only that, but the like I said, I not say the rules of the game, but kind of, you know what I'm saying? We try to, I guess, play the game without the rules, and then we see the results of that, and then we're like, oh well.
Well, and that's why I said, the rules are made to be they're made out to be very confusing. Mm-hmm. If you realize that if you want to lay down in that situation, that requires a commitment. Okay, do you just know that that's what it requires? Right. Just know that that's what it requires, and not choosing to fulfill that part is breaking the agreement, the rules. Mm-hmm. And the results of that breaking of that rule, of those rules, are what we're seeing in our society, no matter where we're positioning ourselves in society. When you break that rule, it becomes evident. Mm-hmm. You can't hide it. It ain't going. You can't dismiss it. It is there. Right. Right. And we're suffering from it, and we're wondering why we're suffering from it, as though we didn't know that there was a commitment required. Yeah. So it's easier for us to okay, well, I didn't know that. Okay, we can continue to be polite, to go like we don't know. Mm-hmm. Look, here's the thing: generation after generation after generation. Yeah. Yeah. Or we could stop and wake up and say, okay, it's my choice to love, to understand what this means, this act implies, what it implies. Mm-hmm. And until I'm willing to fulfill that act, that whole act, then I'll stay away from it. Ooh. It's called discipline. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But look, we don't have that neither. And that's what, and I think that's one of the things, bro. Like I have just a couple of pet peeves, just a couple. And one of them is like this idea that I can't change, or this is me, or whatever the case is. And it's like, that's like, I feel like it's better for someone to just admit that they don't want to, right? Than to say you can't, right? Just say you don't want to change, this is, X, Y, and Z. That would be, I feel better, but I don't have anything to do with the person, but still, it's like, if I hear that, then I'm like, all right, well, at least you admitted to yourself. At least you told the truth, versus being like, oh, I didn't know. And okay, now that I do know, I'm still not going to make no change because I can't, it's hard or whatever. Yeah. It's difficult. You know what I mean? Like, even when I talked about my journey or whatever, it was difficult to like change some things up in my life and like, okay, I'll stop fooling around. Let me tell this person over here, like, look, we ain't doing that no more. And look, I ain't doing it, And it was hard. It was difficult because, again, I'm still, woman with needs and stuff. And like, Lord, and praying about it. Like, I need help here and all that stuff. And he's there to help you and whatnot as well. But again, very few of us go to God about it too. But that's not side note. But anyway, it can be difficult. I'm not saying that the process is easy or whatever. But I think it'll get easier the more that we exercise. Right? Absolutely.
Intentionally, like you talked about earlier, be intentional about that change and making the decisions to, walk in the way that I guess has been laid out before us. Then
you got to do the work.
Your life, yeah. You
got to do the work. You can't. There's no shortcuts. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. We want instant gratification and ratification. No, there's no instantaneous nothing. You got to do the work. Yeah. Each and every one of us.
Every day.
Every day.
Now, and I feel like it gets easier, like the more you do it, you know. Then I say it gets easier. Then I say that, you know, God will give you that strength and all that stuff to kind of, you know, make it through and get past certain things or whatever. So, you know, maybe certain, as they say, sins or temptations or whatever won't be as tempting anymore. I mean, but it'll still probably be there, you know, throughout the rest of your life. But, you know, the more you deny it and the more that you seek God for strength and whatever the case is, then, you know, at least all I can say, I've seen that change in my life. I'll just put it like that, you know, that's what's happened with me. So, and I believe that I can help with anybody. You know, I'm
Well,
just
see,
one.
and that's what it is. It's to make the journey clear. That's what this experience that you've gone through is, to make it clear. And that's what we all are seeking after, is that clarity to navigate this experience called life.
Mm.
See, because we falter to these perceptions or these understandings that have no sustainability, no value long term.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so we end up in this cycle of repeating what we are familiar with, whereas all I'm suggesting is that we entertain something new, entertain a different attitude, because many of us, most of us, are operating in a cycle of being crazy, repeating the same thing over and over again, thinking that there's going to be a different return, a different outcome.
Right. Yep.
It's not. That's what this life is. It's a cycle. Whatever you put into it, you get out of it.
There you go. There you go.
It's no surprise.
It shouldn't be. You're right.
No.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Well, Mr. Juan Lee, I'm telling you, I feel like I say this all the time, but I'm like, I feel like I can talk to you all day.
Well, I like the conversation. I hope that
Yeah.
your audience likes the conversation.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope so too. I mean, you've given us so many words of wisdom today, you know, and so many things to think about. And I say peruse and let marinate on our hearts, souls, and minds. But if there's anything else you would like to share with us before you go, what would that be?
No, I mean, I think you pressed upon it very well. I mean, you said that the things that we experience that we want change, we have to choose to want change. Apart from that choice, nobody can make you change. And it's that same power that can allow you to overcome and do anything that you want. Every one of us are unique. We are an original, and we are here for a purpose. And we have to engage that, find out that uniqueness, and give it to the world, give it to one another. And we've got to be able to be secure in who we are before we can do that. We can't allow others to be in, we can't be intimidated by someone else and what they have to offer. That's who they are. It's not who we are. But just find that originality, that uniqueness in you. You have what everybody is looking for. All you got to do is just, develop it, and then share it.
Yes. Well, Mr. Juan Lee, I truly, truly appreciated this conversation. Like I say, you spoke to me just now too. You know, I'm gonna take some of that. You know, let that marinate. That's some good stuff there. Check, please, if you want to shout out your social media and all that for us.
Yeah, I'm at Juan Lee, the author. You can go there and pick up my book, Love Made Simple. I'm also on, so let me say, JuanLeeTheAuthor.com. You can get an ebook there. You can pick up the book also on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, wherever you get your books from. I'm on social media at Juan Lee Author. I'm at Facebook and Instagram there at that. I'm at Twitter at Love Made Simple. Oh, and also go to my YouTube channel. You can check more videos out from me. Juan Lee, you can find a lot, I'm putting up videos now. So you can see some of my older videos or my more past videos. I'll be putting up some of my own videos on there also. Also, you can catch me on, I'm going to be have a room on Clubhouse. So come on out and listen and talk and share on Clubhouse. That's probably going to start a week from Thursday. Come find me. I'm toying with the name right now, so just look for me. I'll be there. Something about love in there somewhere. Anything else? Oh, I have a freebie. If anybody's interested. Mistakes we make that prevent us from living a successful life. The 3 A's that prevent us from living a successful life. You can go to my Instagram page, and at the top of the page, it's extra.juanleetheauthor.com/freebie, and get that those 3 A's that prevent us from living a successful life.
Nice.
Oh, and by the way, go check out the nonprofit. Everything that we're looking for sponsors, we're looking for partners. If you're interested, we have a mission to educate teens and young adults in financial literacy. So go to clearjourney.org and check us out. See what maybe you can be a part of this journey to educate teens and young adults.
Nice. Well, much success in everything that you have going on. Thank God for you walking in your purpose, because it seems like you out here like me out here, the multiple things going on and whatnot. But I'm sure you've been having a great impact in all of them. So thank you so much again for coming.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for watching God, Sex, and Love. And thank you to Mr. Juan Lee for joining us for this conversation tonight. Things went deep on several levels, but I hope that you all enjoyed it. Check out him and his nonprofit and his books. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.